Hello and welcome back to Small Talk. This episode is a fun one as we chat with a father-son football duo from Tufts University. I'm your host, Katie Mucci. Each week on this show, we highlight the past and present of Division III, with both current and former student athletes joining to talk about their experiences, their favorite on-campus spots, the craziest road trip stories, and more. This week, we're chatting with current Tufts quarterback Mike Berluti and a former QB for the Jumbos, also Mike's dad, Bob Berluti, as they talk about some of the changes on campus, how the NESCAC runs in the family, and more. Thanks for joining this week. Now it's time for some small talk.
Thank you for having us, Katie. My name is Mike Berluti. I'm a current junior quarterback on the Tufts football team. I'm majoring in economics and minoring in entrepreneurship.
Hi, Katie. My name is Bob Berluti. I'm Mike's dad. I graduated from Tufts in 1977, so I was there for many years ago. I was already also an economics major, and I was also a quarterback on the football team. I also played baseball too, but it's been a lot of fun going back to the campus and going back and seeing the football games and just everything about the school. Many years since I was directly living it.
And then I have to ask, was Tufts, but prior to you, Bob, was Tufts a family college your family went to, or just now it kind of is?
No, it's more so that, no, I had no prior. I was not a legacy, and not only in my immediate family or a more extended family. I was the first one to go.
All right, very cool. Well, I love that you guys have that connection there, and it's nice that you get to go back to campus and see what it's changed. So, speaking of campus, we'll start out there. Mike, I'll have you start this one off. Talk about where you and your teammates or your friends are hanging out. Is there a quad you go to, or is it off campus? What are kind of the spots? And then, Bob, if you want to follow up, are any of those things the same from when you were there?
Yeah, absolutely. I think on campus there are a few kind of hot spots. One of them being the dining hall. Actually, DIII McPhee. I think a lot of us spend a decent amount of time there. Not only just kind of obviously eating lunch, dinner, breakfast, whatever it may be, but hanging out, seeing each other. Every time you kind of walk in, there's a whole group of people there, and so chances are you're going to run into someone and you'll end up spending a decent amount of time there. But aside from there, I would say the Joyce Cumming Center, where I'm currently taking the Zoom, is actually another spot that it's a good area to hang out, as well as there's a Starbucks in the main lobby there. So a lot of people like to get a coffee, come to class here. But same sort of thing as DIII. You're going to run into people in passing or on the way to class, and you're naturally going to kind of get together and spend a few more minutes there than maybe you would like to, but it just happens. So I would say DIII and the Joyce Cumming Center is two spots on campus that we love to hang out at.
So one of the common grounds is that I lived right near DIII when I was there my freshman year and my senior year, so I ate quite a bit at that same dining hall. The dining hall is very different today than it was many years ago when I went there. It's been renovated. It's nicer. It's certainly aesthetically. I think they have even more food choices than what we had. The campus is very different because there's so many more new buildings. But one of the other places, at least socially, that we used to hang out at was at least two of the fraternity houses, in particular DU and Theta Delta Chi. And one of the ironies is that Mike actually is a member of DU. I was not a member of a fraternity, just had friends primarily in those two fraternities. But Mike is a member of DU and lived there last year. So it was really a blast from the past to go there. But even that has been completely renovated and is a much different place aesthetically today than it was many years ago.
And Dad, one thing about DIII that I heard I don't know, rumors about was that I think on one of the weeknights, DeWitt turned into maybe a bar or a little club or a social hangout at night. Can you confirm or deny that?
Oh, I can confirm that. That actually were some of the teams, and one of them was the baseball team, had to raise some money for a spring trip. And we actually had a casino night there that included serving some more aggressive libations than what was served during the school week. But yeah, it was flexible, and we tried to use them as much as we could.
That's awesome. Now moving off campus, when you were traveling, and I know being in Division III, you try to stay relatively regional with your travel and your games and your schedule. But when you are traveling, Bob, you can start this one out. Was it by bus? Did you guys get in vans? Did you have many plane trips or flights? What was that like? And then once you were on those trips and you're rooming with your teammates, were they shoving as many in a room as they could to save money? Or were you getting a little bit nicer where you each had your own bed at least?
So we did not fly. We did take buses, and the buses were not too bad. The further trips, when we had to go to New York a couple of times, we definitely got the coach buses and whatnot. We never had single rooms. We always had our own beds. You roomed by position, pretty much. I don't recall ever having more than two people in the room at any, with me. I don't remember that they used to overstuff the rooms too badly, at least not for the quarterbacks. I guess they expected us to get some kind of sleep. But so we took some of the trips up to Vermont were definitely ones to remember. I'll never forget a trip in which we were going to a farmhouse. This was really a sort of out there in terms of the accommodations, and we had to go over a bridge, and the bus came to a stop, and the head coach walked onto the middle of the bridge, and then he sort of jumped up and down to test the deflection, and then came walking back, nodding his head like he had confirmed that it was strong enough to carry the bus. Of course, none of us on the bus thought that was much of a safety check, but anyway, we made it. But we have a few of those stories.
I'm glad you made it over the bus.
Over the bridge.
Or over the bridge, yeah.
Right,
We're glad the bus made it over the bridge. Mike, what about you?
Yeah, I can attest to, I think we have something similar, a similar setup to ours. We take a bus as well. He said on the longer road trips, they get a coach bus. Luckily, we get a coach bus every trip. So that's normally pretty nice. We split it up, offense and defense, on two separate buses. And then on the overnights, I've been lucky enough to get my own bed as well. We're normally two in a room. Sometimes some of the rooms are three or four maybe, which isn't probably the best for those guys, but luckily for quarterbacks, we get good treatment most of the time. So the overnights have been personally some of my favorite experiences, just because you're spending the most time with the team. You're in a foreign place, you're away from campus, and you really have to bond together and gel together in a different way than just practicing before a game at on your own campus, on your own field and everything. When we went up to Hamilton my freshman year, actually, we got to stop off at Albany, and we practiced there along the way, which was pretty cool, to see a different stadium, a higher division. So that was a lot of fun as well. But just being with the guys in the hotel rooms, and all the meetings, and just the road trips is such a great experience, and a great bonding moment for all of us. I think a cool away trip for us this past year was when we were going to Williams. I think about 45 minutes into the bus ride, one of our buses broke down. So all of a sudden, a bunch of us were woken up from our naps or whatever at a gas station. We all had to kind of jump on one bus together. We made it up there. We had to delay the start of the game. But so we probably rolled out to pregame with 35, 40 guys. And, normally we're bringing 75. So we're missing more than half the dress list. And they pulled up honking the horns, guys half dressed, hands up. Just Williams was standing across the field with their full team there. And obviously we weren't too ready to go, but it ended up being a great game for us, and that was a great memory. We pulled out a great victory kind of late in the game. So that was one of the cooler away games I would say we had.
So, Mike, one of the things I've heard, maybe you can confirm or deny, is that you sometimes order room service. That's something that we never did. Is that true?
That is true. So kind of to the meals aspect of it, how do we get fed? Normally the coaches do a good job hooking us up with Chick-fil-A on the bus ride, something quick and easy on the bus to hold us over. Then at night after meetings and dinner and everything, our late night snack is normally a pizza. And so those aren't, fast food and pizza aren't my two favorite things to maybe eat the day before a game. So I think it was Hamilton or Middlebury as well. I was just poking around in the room and I saw one of those menus. There's a steak on it. So texted my coach, seeing if I could perhaps order room service. He gave me the green light, and we went out the next day and won the game. So it was all good. But that is true.
Do you get room service every time now? Is that right?
I wouldn't say every time. That's a special occasion. Maybe if I'm feeling a little extra
I don't
hungry.
know if you win the day after. I think they got to give it to you.
I think yeah.
So being in the NESCAC, you probably get to go to some pretty cool places, just with the colleges there, and then obviously you have non-conference games as well. Are there any like touristy or kind of unique experiences you got to have during one of those road trips? Maybe you guys came in the day before and had some time to kill as a team. Mike, you can start out on that.
Yeah, I think I touched on at Hamilton when we were on our way to Hamilton. We stopped off at Albany, and again, higher division level. Their football stadium was very, very cool to see. I think what's unique about football is that we only get 9 games now. I think my dad only had 8. They just switched over to 9 games a few years ago. So we only play in conference teams. And so the road trips are a little bit different. I would say, compared to a basketball or baseball where you're there for an extended period of time. So not a lot of touristy stuff, I would say, that we've done. It's again more of a business trip, I'd say, than kind of a fun touristy trip. We're not going to see attractions. I think we're going to try to win a football game. So I would say from that perspective, we haven't really ventured out, too off course. But I think my dad could maybe talk about maybe a little bit more on baseball or whatever on those trips that you guys have had.
Yeah, no, I think I agree with what you say that, at least in football, when you travel, it's generally on a Friday, it's during the day, and it's the fall, so it can be really pretty in New England. And we played a couple of different teams up in Vermont. So, especially in the fall, the foliage really was very pretty, near the mountains and whatnot. Unfortunately, when the weather was bad and it rained, it was that much worse. But, Tufts is near is more of a city, quote unquote, school, and going out to some of the country campuses, more rural campuses, was very pretty from that standpoint. But I agree. There were business trips. Sometimes you're trying to, the day before you're trying to just focus on game plan and that type of stuff. Sometimes on the way back, some kids might try to do a little bit of studying. I don't know. And on the way back later in the fall, it's dark. But when we headed up there on Fridays, it was during the day and it was a nice day. It was really pretty. So, that not so much tourist attractions. We didn't have that much extra time to get up there. You do a walkthrough, you get a dinner, and then there's some meetings at night, and then, lights out, go to bed, get ready for the game the next day.
I actually remember on the way to Hamilton as well. Again, yeah, exactly what my dad was saying, a little bit different scenery and whatnot. And one of my good buddies, I live with him currently. He's from Syracuse, New York. And so on our way up, we were going through different areas and real pretty area. I think there was a lake or river and, mountains and the leaves and the sunlight was kind of reflecting off it. And he just stands up at the back of the bus and he was like, "Guys, welcome to the motherland." And we all had kind of a good laugh about that one. So think that's about as much scenery as we're going to see coming from Tufts.
Now let's move on to academics, what you're doing in the classroom. So it sounded like you two both had pretty similar majors, if not the same. Are there any, Bob, were you able to prep him a little bit for that? Obviously, Tufts is an incredibly tough school academically. So any tips you were able to give him or any preppers there for that business degree?
Yeah, I only wish that I could. Not really. My profession is not in economics; it's in the law, actually. But Tufts is a liberal arts school, an engineering school, and whatnot. It has several majors, but it does not have a business major. So my only counseling was that economics was probably the closest thing to business that you could get to. And my only guidance from Mike was, don't get behind. Keep up with it. I think that was as much as I could do.
I think it helped. He didn't always have to worry about me academically. I was normally pretty locked in, but kidding aside, he prepared me very, very well. I think obviously from a young age, just always, not even just with academics, but in life, always being prepared, always being disciplined, right? Getting into a routine, staying ahead was always one of his big things, doing some preparation and trying to look ahead. I can still remember in middle school and high school, he would always ask for the syllabus and try to check that and whatnot, to know what we're doing. So he could follow along. But one of his big quotes on the weekends, he sees us sitting around, he'd ask if we have any homework. And no, Dad, we finished it. Well, did they already give you more assignments? Can you start going ahead in the textbook? Can you start reading more chapters? And, obviously that's not something you always want to do, but it's things like that kind of prepare you for Tufts and whatnot. And I was lucky enough to go to an all boys kind of Catholic high school, who also prepared me very, very well. So coming into it, I had a good idea of what I was walking into, kind of from him and from my upbringing and from high school as well. So it was an easy transition, I would say, for the most part.
Seeing your bio, I see you also had two brothers who went to Amherst. So you clearly were doing something very well in that household, with three NESCAC kids.
There's actually a fourth kid. Michael's immediate older brother is at Trinity, so we're covering the NESCAC pretty well. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, they haven't updated that bio quite yet, so that's incredible. Is there any rivalries there, being any trash talking with all the conference schools?
Always.
Yeah. Well, I do know this. The heartstrings were tugging pretty good. One of my sons that went to Amherst just couldn't bring himself to sit on the Tufts sidelines during the Tufts Amherst game, but at the same time couldn't bring himself to sit on the Amherst side either. So he stayed in the end zone the entire game, and sort of cheered for Tufts as much as he could, and sat on his hands as much as he could for Amherst. But his allegiances were definitely split. He was having, he was a bit schizophrenic, I think, for that afternoon.
Yeah, it's a tough line, obviously, for them to walk a little bit. Want to root for their own school, but it's their younger brother, so there's some healthy trash talk there, I would say, but all supportive, and we're all there for each other, so it's been great.
That's awesome. Well, they can cheer for the quarterback, and maybe the rest happens as it happens. That's awesome. Thinking of your time on the team, what is maybe the funniest or craziest or just wild story that you have, but appropriate for this podcast? And Bob, I'll let you start this one.
Oh, that's a tough one. Many memories, and I guess the fact that I'm still in touch with many of my teammates today is the best testament of just how deep the roots go. One of the very funny guys, this is many years ago, but one of the sports announcers was Howard Cosell. And one of my classmates that was also on the team was not necessarily the best player, but he was the best impersonator ever to come down the line, and just one of the funniest human beings. So he used to keep us all laughing, on the bus trips, and he would just come up with great one-liners, either imitating the coaches, imitating Howard Cosell. So there's a lot of that. As I say, we socialized a lot, particularly during the football season, with other players, and was oftentimes at DU or at Theta Delta Chi. But I'm going to leave those stories there and let Mike jump in.
That's probably a good idea there. But no, similar sort of thing. I think you always have those locker room guys, those chemistry guys who are just, funny as heck. I know we've had a couple of them, and they never fail to kind of make you laugh, whether it's, in the locker room or on the long bus rides. It's always enjoyable to have those guys. I think one of my favorite memories within the program was this past year, our first night game kind of under the lights. And that's pretty unique for NESCAC football to play, Saturday nights under the lights. And Tufts has always, maybe not always, I don't know how long it actually goes back, but had that tradition of playing under the lights with Wesleyan, and sharing that stage is very, very cool. A lot of the fields don't have, lights to do that. Obviously, so it's very different from high school. You go to playing Friday nights under the lights, and then on Saturday afternoon, we were very lucky to have a brand new, beautiful field. We have lights there. So this year, playing under the lights at Bowdoin at home, we just had our new Jumbotron put up. So we had a hype video, we had the lights flashing, the whole 9 yards. That was really, really cool. A great experience that I'll certainly remember forever. But I can just remember that morning, you get up for breakfast, and on our walk to DIII, actually going to get breakfast, just the whole campus just buzzing. No one else was doing much but hanging out with each other and just getting ready for the game. A lot of tailgates, a lot of people gathering. And so that was, walking through campus, a lot of people yelling at us, wishing us luck. Very, very cool experience that certainly I'll never forget. And we're lucky that, we're going to have a few more of those night games coming up. So that has to be one of my favorite memories within the program. That, or on the away trips, just guys going in the hot tub or in the pool, and I don't know, playing pool basketball or pool foot, whatever it is. But on those away trips, it gets a little rowdy the night before, just itching to get to the game. But a lot of great memories, and I'm looking forward to creating some more going forward.
One of the things I would say, a little bit more of a serious point, that I don't think has changed, which I'm very happy to see and experience, is that the families of the players, not only is it fun meeting the players and obviously their teammates, but through the tailgating and whatnot, meeting their families and the collective support, just reinforces that the people that get admitted and go there, it's not a random gene pool, and it's not just about who's smart or who's athletic and whatnot. They're just very, very nice quality, top quality people, and I would say that's a common lineage over time. That culture has not changed at all. So very happy to see and experience that.
I think that's a great point to add on. Certainly be from the alumni standpoint, currently being a junior here, I've met countless alumni and just so many different, former players or former DU members or whatever it may be, but reach out to us and are so supportive and are really, trying to come to games, trying to check in on us. We've been lucky enough to have a couple of former players actually come to practice, and they give us speeches after and whatnot. Our head coach always kind of says it's bigger than ball, and it really feels that way at Tufts. There's just an immense amount of support from really everybody involved with Tufts, not only just the football program, but within the athletics department and whatever it may be. But that's a huge point to kind of highlight there, and something certainly we can all attest to as current players.
Now we're going to zoom out a little bit and go to some more general Division III topics. So first, what does it mean to you to be or to have been a Division III student athlete with your time at Tufts. So Mike, you can start this one out.
Yeah, going into my third year, it's certainly super, super special and very unique. Certainly, again, my dad going there, graduating in 77. It certainly, it runs deep in that regard. Kind of comes full circle in that way. I grew up with Tufts gear, with the Tufts winter hat. Just always, we would come around campus and whatnot. So I always knew about it, and I don't know, I guess a part of me always enjoyed the location of Tufts. Although now it's been renovated, Somerville and Medford have really turned over. But I think from being a student athlete at Tufts right now, there's the support I really can't emphasize enough. Again, not even just from current players or coaches, really from each and every other sports team on campus as well. Just everyone, a collective support, to just be there when, times are tough or when it's going well. They're always a friendly face, and they're always there just to let you know they have your back. Is certainly something I've always really appreciated. Even some professors who, you might not think they would check the score, and who maybe at, other colleges wouldn't do the same thing. You walk into class and a professor says, "Good game to you," or, "Oh, what, asking you about this weekend." It's a pretty cool feeling, and very unique and special. And I think that kind of differentiates Tufts a little bit, maybe a lot of it from other schools. I just don't know, but it's certainly been a privilege to, not only be a part of the football team, but to contribute, and to have obviously my dad as an alumni and a key contributor as well. It's been awesome.
So, Katie, what it means to be a Division III athlete, I think that for me, it was to fully immerse academically and athletically, and socially. It was an environment where every single day you got to do those things, which is just, tremendously exhilarating and motivating and fun. But at some higher level programs, I think where there's scholarships involved and whatnot, I think that your time is much more skewed, and perhaps appropriately so for them, on the athletic side. And there's only 24 hours in a day. So, when the demands are made, more demands are made athletically, there's obviously less socially, and something academically, and something has to give. And I grew to appreciate the balance that, at least, I was able to experience in doing all three, getting to know coaches, getting to know professors, and certainly getting to know a wide swath of the student body. I remember hearing a story about one Division I athlete who never made his way onto one side of the campus because the athletic facility was, down the hill, if you will, and there was just no reason to have to go up the hill, or so he was told by by his position coach and whatnot. And obviously there's none of that at Division III. You're fully immersed in the community as a whole, and I think that's a good thing.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think something like, Mike, you being in a fraternity might not be possible at a lot of different levels, just because of, just as Bob said, the amount of time that's expected of you on the athletic side. So, and I'm sure being in a fraternity is huge for just the socialization, but also for professional networking, everything like that. And I'm sure it's been a huge benefit to you.
It absolutely has been 100%. It's been a great opportunity for us to do something outside of just athletics, and again, do something outside of academics as well. Being able to socially get together in a different light, in a different brotherhood, a different bond, so to speak. So it's been unbelievable for us to have that opportunity. Now that DIII has kind of come back a little bit, and it's taken the school by storm in some ways. So it's definitely been a huge addition for us and a great opportunity.
My last question for you two. This podcast is part of our 50th anniversary of Division III celebration. So we're taking the whole year to look back at the past of Division III, talk about what's going on now, and then look ahead to what's in the future. So it's sort of a broad question and maybe a question that doesn't have an exact answer, but for you and from your perspectives, what do you see or what do you want to see for the future of Division III? And Bob, I will let you kick this one off.
Well, the New England Small College Athletic Conference, the NESCAC, is a completely self-contained conference now. It was not, it existed when I went to school, but we would always play a couple of schools outside the conference. But now it's a completely self-contained conference, and I think it's great. I think it builds rivalry. I think you get to know players on the other team, on the other team, and that rivalry over 4 years, I think, is just really very, very positive. And this, the NESCAC has all schools that are like-minded in terms of academics and athletics, et cetera. So I think that's a really good thing. I think there are a lot of other divisions throughout the country that are similar, meaning self-contained divisions in which the same 8, 9, 10 teams, play each other every year, and I think that's a very strong thing. I think not, traveling long distances may sound exciting and all of that, but there'll be plenty of time for travel. I think doing it regionally, relatively regionally, makes a lot of sense, and I think, I think that's always existed, but I think the fact that the conferences are more well-defined, I think is a really good thing. One thing I would like to, I think the schools to consider is that many of the sports in Division III allow some postseason tournaments, and I think having, maybe a one-game sort of championship or maybe to be able to participate in, in a postseason tournament, if you will, might be a good addition. Even at Division III, I think they're concerned about a lot of things. They don't want to extend the football season, but that would be a consideration. I know it's under consideration, but I think that's worthy to continue to look at.
I can definitely agree with that. We've been a lot of people have been talking about adding maybe a postseason to football, but he said it very well, and I totally agree with all of that. I think one great thing about the NESCAC, and I think it rings true for a lot of different conferences and leagues, but it's your own community. It's special to, my dad and I obviously at Tufts, but it's special to us because we're in the NESCAC, right? Or he was a part of it. And it's little examples like going on spring break and, you instantly have a connection with some random person that you just met at the beach because you're both, they're at another NESCAC school and you're at Tufts, and right there, there's common ground. So in the sense that it's your own community, and there's, support in that way is definitely pretty cool. And so the future of Division III and specifically the NESCAC, I would just hope they continue to provide the opportunity really of the best of all worlds for student athletes, but for students as well, whether you want to get involved in athletics, to balance that with academics and add in the social element as well. Even for non-athletes, just having the ability to participate in club athletics or just any clubs in general. It's a great balance of athletics, academics, and social life. And you really get the best of everything. And again, speaking specifically about Tufts, I think they do the best job in the NESCAC of providing all three and giving you the most abundant opportunity, for growth and to blossom within all three areas that way. So, in that regard, I hope that continues. And, I can speak confidently to my time at Tufts saying that it's been, the best decision I've made thus far. And, I'm really, I guess, looking forward to the next couple of years, but also hopefully times, it slows down a little bit and I can just got to really enjoy it and appreciate it every day.
So, Mike, I think you know from Alex and Bo, your oldest two brothers are in the working world. I mean, even now in their professions, they will network and come across people from other NESCAC schools in which they have some level of commonality and common ground. Some of them were athletes that they may have played against, but even if not, just the fact that they're from the NESCAC, there's obviously an immediate common ground, which is really helpful. So the whole networking thing, I think, permeates and only gets broader when you're in a conference in which in which you compete in, and whether for you it's the NESCAC, but Midwest, Southern, I mean, out west, they're all conferences that I think is really a good thing, and that I think that athletes really benefit from over and above just on the playing fields.
Absolutely. And that's a great point as well. Just the immediate connections, you can, you connect with people and find that common ground. There's kind of an instant bond that you, I guess, can create right there. And I can speak to that even in the couple internships I've had so far, whether it be a Williams quarterback who's graduated a few years ago. Immediately, you find common ground in that, and they want to take you under your wing. So in that regard, networking is definitely super strong. And that's, again, one of the benefits as well. So that's obviously a great opportunity for all current students right now.
Well, that is all I've got for you two today. Thank you again for joining me. Mike, good luck with your season. Looks like you guys get started in about a week, I think.
Correct.
So good luck with everything this season. And Bob, thank you so much for joining.
Thank you, Katie.
Thank you.
To everyone listening, thanks for tuning in to this episode of Small Talk. We post new episodes every Thursday. To follow along with everything Division III, you can find us on social media at NCAAD3 or NCAADIII. Make sure to join the conversation with us all year long by using the hashtag DIII50. Have a great day, and we'll see you for some more Small Talk next week.